Welcome back to another episode of Two in the Cooler, folks. And if you want to support the show even further, you can do something nice for yourself and check out the merch that is available at snackspot.se/creator/teespring.com. The link is going to be in this episode description as well as in our Instagram bio. Check out all the great stuff we've got on there. Pint glasses, water bottles, bucket hats, fanny packs. Of course, we've got the hoodies. We've got the long sleeves, and we have got the t-shirts. Tri-blend material, okay? This is the softest shit you will ever feel. This is not that cheap-ass brand that other shows or events, whatever, they're trying to pawn off on you. They buy them super cheap. They sell them to you for like $40, and you can't even wear it because it fits like a cardboard fucking box. No. We got the highest quality material. Like I said, tri-blend fabric. That's at snackspot.se/creator/teespring.com. It's a great way to support the show. Again, hit the link in this episode description and in our Instagram bio. And you can get not just merch for this show, but also for our twin show, Schemin' and Dreamin' and Quested, the latest Dungeons and Dragons podcast that we produce right here. So again, go check out all of that awesome stuff at snackspot.se/creator/teespring.com. The link is going to be in the episode description and in our Instagram bio. Folks, if there's a worse place than the grocery store, I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's terrible. The parking lot is an absolute mess. And then you get inside, and everybody is banging their carts into each other. It's looking each other in the eye. It's a terrible, terrible place. Avoid it at all costs. You don't need to go there. You can make things easier on yourself by using Instacart, because with Instacart, you can get not just groceries, but some of your favorite products from some of your favorite local stores delivered right to your front door in as little as 1 hour. The best part is right now, Two in the Cooler listeners get free delivery on their first order of $10 or more. All you got to do is spend $10 and Instacart will deliver whatever you're looking for absolutely free right to your front door. All you have to do to get that deal is hit the link that is in this episode description. Start making things easier on yourself, okay? And use Instacart. And if you're interested in advertising on this show or our twin show, Schemin' and Dreamin' or Quested, the newest Dungeons and Dragons podcast we do right here, you can email us at snackspotsports@gmail.com for details on how you can start reaching thousands of listeners in the Buffalo area and beyond, okay? Podcasting is blowing up. Large companies are getting into the mix. McDonald's, I keep hearing McDonald's advertising on podcasts. It blows my fucking mind. State Farm does a bunch of them. Walmart, Tropicana, big companies. Okay, and also there's a lot of companies that have grown from podcast advertising. Like, who the fuck would know what Manscaped was if it weren't for podcasts? You know what I mean? The problem is, with all these big companies getting their, piece of the pie, it doesn't leave any room for smaller local businesses to get in on the action. But that's why we're here. So, if you want to learn more about all the benefits of podcast advertising, again, you can reach out to us at snackspotsports@gmail.com. And the logo's off, which means the show is going. Troy, thanks for being here. We were talking a bunch before. I got to get this out of the way. Your dad is one of my favorite people I've ever met. I haven't seen him in, probably over a decade, Lord knows. Yeah. But because you were just talking about how people have been telling you to like be quieter your whole life.
Entire life.
I don't know if anybody's told me to be quieter more times than your dad did, but in the best way, because you probably know what I'm talking about, but when we would have sleepovers at your house, your brother and I, and usually one other friend, we would be in the living room watching Nick at Night, having a blast, and every hour or so on the hour, your dad would come down the stairs and he'd be like, "Boys, we're at DEFCON 5. Got to bring it down to DEFCON 4. Got to bring it down to DEFCON 4.
Oh, God, I hate it.
We got to bring it down to DEFCON 3. Fellas, got to go down to DEFCON 3 for me, okay? We get a little too.
You're killing me, because that is. I'm having PTSD while you're saying that. Honest to God, I'm like, did you see it?
Yeah.
You're like, I can't believe he actually made it down the stairs, because I feel like sometimes he would just lurk in the shadow of his bedroom. Not pictured. He was in his whitey tighties, so thank God he didn't come down for everybody involved.
Yeah.
But that didn't just go with Tyler's sleepovers. I mean, that was across the board.
Oh yeah.
Oh, across the board.
That was
even when you guys weren't there. I feel like sometimes it's like, well, turn the damn game down. It's too loud. But the DEFCON thing is so Mike Licastro, it hurts. It hurts.
It's so funny. To this day, I'll still like say that to people.
You really?
Oh, 100%. So, or like somebody, because Jake Lumadou and I are still great pals.
Yeah.
So whenever we're somewhere and somebody, is being too loud, or if somebody tells us we're being too loud, we'll look at you and be like, DEFCON, you got to take the DEFCON down. You got to take the DEFCON down.
I can't wait to tell my dad. I'm going to call him on the ride home.
Oh, my God.
How bad you scarred these children?
Not in the slightest.
No,
it's
not in the,
so
yeah.
funny.
No.
It's the best, man. But
That's
again,
hilarious.
thanks for coming on, pal.
Dude, thanks for having me. I was super excited when you sent me the DM. I was like, because I've been watching what you guys are doing, and I think you're doing great stuff. Honestly, like this, I was telling you before we sat down, this place, it looks great. I love the video element and just, the aesthetic, and what you guys are doing I think is awesome.
Yeah, we got the Lob-a-Nob shirt. We got the we got the Ron. Which one do we have up?
The OJ
Burgundy.
poster.
We got the OJ plaque.
Key.
Yeah, don't forget about the
Yes,
OJ. You
which
need
is
the OJ plaque.
which is number one.
Hello, Twitter world.
Yeah.
I love that.
Damn, OJ, you can't beat that guy. He really.
You
was.
shouldn't.
No,
You actually shouldn't beat that guy.
You should
You
not
shouldn't even
to
try.
beat that guy.
No.
But that, yeah, man, that's another 30 for 30 that like really opened my eyes, because people like you hear about how big that story was when it happened, and I was like, okay, whatever. But then watching that documentary, I was like, holy shit, this really is crazy.
Now, was that the 30 for 30 that was specifically? Which one are you referring to?
The like 5-part OJ one. Wasn't
Okay.
it, what was that called? Something America?
Was that? I thought that was HBO, or is the HBO one a different one? HBO did one that was like a TV show.
No,
right?
that was FX with
Oh, it was
Cuba Gooding
FX?
Jr.
Okay.
Yeah, that was that. What the fuck is that
Too
called?
much OJ
American
content.
Crime.
Wasn't
Story
David
or something.
Schwimmer in it too as Rob Kardashian?
Hell yeah, he
Oh,
was.
God.
Yep.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because I don't know, probably a month or two ago, whatever, just sitting at home, had nothing to do, and I was watching a 30 for 30, and it was, oh my God, what's the date? July, whatever it was, 1994. Okay, and I'm watching, and they're obviously the big thing is the OJ Bronco chase, right? What I didn't realize is everything else that went on that day in sports. It's Arnold Palmer's last round of the U.S. Open that he would ever play. The New York Rangers are doing their parade after
Stanley
just
Cup
winning the
parade.
cup. The Knicks had just won Game 5 or Game 6 in the Garden to extend that series for the NBA championship. MLB was about to go on strike, and then the Bronco chase. That was all one day.
What a great
Holy
sports day.
shit.
I love good. There's nothing better than a good sports day.
You want to? That might be unmatched.
Oh yeah, it's got.
And if like, see it all the time because like when I wear my watch, every time anything happens in sports, bzz, I get an ESPN notification.
Right.
I wouldn't have been able to. I wouldn't have been able to work. I'd have been stuck staring at my watch all day.
That's what I mean. I couldn't believe it, and it was brilliantly done. Where they never did interviews or anything in this 30 for 30. It was all just the pure sound. Like they just took sound from news clips and things like that, interviews that happened before. But it wasn't even narrated.
right.
It was all just pure, just sound.
That's interesting.
It was very well done. It was brilliant. If you ever get a chance, watch it.
That's a cool way to do it.
Which 30 for 30 is it?
It's literally the date. That's what it's called.
Oh.
It's July. I forgot what the date
Whatever.
was. 1994. That's
Sick.
exactly what the episode's called. Great piece, though.
That's a cool way to do it. I don't think that there's. Do you know when that came out?
I think it's an older one.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like a 2022. I don't think it's very
Right.
recent. It was like I think it was like a Saturday, and it was like 10 in the morning, right? So they just like threw it on as a rerun, and I was glued.
You
I
have
was
to
like,
watch
all
it.
right.
Did you guys watch the new Manti Te'o Untold one?
I haven't yet because I'm kind of gearing myself up for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that story is one that kind of puts me in backs me into a corner every time I hear it.
What do you mean?
Like I feel so uncomfortable for the guy. I feel like, and I don't know if I'm quite ready to hear his side of the story yet.
really?
Like I think I'm just good knowing what I know and where I'm at. For now, like
Ignorance
I will.
is bliss.
One day I will want to watch it. I haven't got there. Like every time I scroll past it, I'm like, nope, gotta keep going. I don't even want the preview to play.
I remember when it happened. Like he was kind of like a punch line. Like they even show a clip from the Saturday Night Live sketch that makes him, look like a complete idiot. And that's what I thought he was, because that's what was being said, it seemed like to me. Watching this documentary, I would have fallen for that shit right away.
Really? They got him good?
I feel like he was one of the
got him
original
really
catfishes, too. Like, before catfishing was a thing.
I think that's like part of what they talk about, and I
Yeah.
think that's true because it was in 2012, and I don't know when the show was on or the movie or whatever, but
Yeah.
it was like around
The show
then.
Catfish?
Yeah.
It had to be. It was probably like 2015, I bet that. Maybe
That sounds
earlier.
about right.
But that's just, yeah. That's when MTV really made that switch towards that kind of show. Like 2013 to 2015, I bet.
When was Jersey Shore?
A little bit
A
before,
little bit
that,
before that?
probably. Well, maybe.
No, it had to be like 2011 or
Yeah,
something.
I think
wanna say.
I would say 11 because
Yeah.
I remember, and this is going to age me, but I remember still being in high school when some of Jersey Shore was airing.
I love the Jersey Shore. That's a fantastic show.
was such a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
I mean, we can all admit it now.
Well, I feel
think.
like when it was originally on, it was masculine of us to be like, no, we don't watch Jersey Shore.
100%.
Right.
But then after the fact, like if you've watched it since then, you're like, this is the greatest fucking show maybe that anybody's ever came out with.
That's interesting because I don't think I've still seen a full episode ever, but it felt like everybody was watching it. So I'm just surprised that you say like
Yeah, well, I feel like it was
talked
like
about or whatever.
well, I feel like it was like cool. It was cool to not watch. Like you'd be like, nah, I don't care about that stuff.
right.
He's got
Yeah.
a point. Yes, I feel like it was very much.
But
like,
in reality, you were
Don't
you were-
ask,
you were
don't tell for the Jersey Shore.
Yeah, you were
Okay.
you were sliding into bed, flicking on MTV, watching Jersey Shore, guaranteed.
And I feel like it's one of those things where you could say, in a way, the real world walked, so Jersey Shore shows like that could run.
That makes a lot of sense. I don't really know anything about the real world, but that
Oh.
sounds right. I never watched it.
The real world, honestly, I feel like you think the Jersey Shore is wild. You watch Real World, and it's just a whole other animal.
Because they
and it
went
was-
to different cities, and they would switch up the people every season.
different cities, switching up the people, and let's be honest, Jersey Shore. I mean, even though they all fought in that, they're all the same person. That's probably why they fought, because they're all the same person.
Right.
Right? Real World was kind of trying to bring these different personalities together, and obviously, that's just a powder keg right there when you do something like that.
And I feel like it was like way not that much previous, like not that much earlier than Jersey Shore, but it was just early enough where there was still like no rules. Like they could just do whatever they wanted on that show.
Yeah. Real World started in like 90, 92, 93 or something like that. So
Nobody cared at all what was going on in that TV show. They just wanted to watch it for pure entertainment. Not one thought that these people were real humans.
no, it was just chaos.
Yeah.
I'm so fascinated by that time now since watching that Woodstock 99 documentary. Like it just seems like such a strange place because really all I know about the 90s or like that like very specific 90s culture is like still photos of people on red carpets and the women are all like unbelievably skinny and they're dressed like trash or whatever. But it was a whole fucking movement. There was a whole change in the country that seemed very aggressive.
You've been really, really had a heavy focus on this Woodstock 99 documentary for like going on 3 weeks now.
Yeah, have you watched it yet?
Oh, I watched like the first 7 minutes of it.
It's
Like
fascinating.
the first episode, the first 7 minutes.
I'm
of the
slacking.
episode.
I haven't seen Manti Te'o, and I haven't watched that yet. But I obviously
It's cool.
know
Yeah.
some of the stories that came out of that.
Limp Bizkit is just so fascinating to me. I can't understand why they were so popular, but they were fucking huge.
And
They
they're
were
making
so
they're
popular.
almost making like what I would call a comeback
because
in
of,
2022.
Really?
I think they were put on a festival.
Uh-huh.
Don't quote me, but I want to say like Lollapalooza, okay? They were put on a festival. They played. Fred Durst comes out with long gray hair, gray handlebar mustache, and these like rose-tinted aviators, right? And people just lost their minds. He became a meme. Everybody's like, Fred Durst, this and that, like Limp Bizkit. Next thing you know, they got an album coming out. They're on tour.
There's a new Limp Bizkit album.
What?
We would have to have a release party.
Yeah,
We should,
listening
actually.
party.
Yeah. There's a live stream of just you and I sitting there listening to Limp Bizkit.
Jesus Christ.
See how far you can get through
At
the album.
1:30 a.m. on a Thursday. Yeah.
Just see how far you can get through it.
Just for fun.
What is that even going to sound like? I have to listen to it now. But that's the thing is everybody's going to be saying that I have to listen to this now because that's
Might
just...
go platinum. Is that still a thing? Can albums still go platinum?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
There you go.
Who else could make a comeback from the 90s? How about Sugar Ray?
I
No?
I think that's a band that is just relegated to small clubs.
Is that what
at this
ska
point.
music is?
I don't know.
I don't know
No.
what... Yeah, okay.
The short answer is no.
Okay, because I have no idea what ska music is.
Ska is basically you take like punk music and you add a little like reggae, riff to it.
Yeah.
And then just throw in horns. Trumpets and just all kinds of horns.
I gotta be honest, dude. That sounds like Sugar Ray to me. I think you just described Sugar Ray.
There's a chance I may.
Dude, they were like a heavy metal band, and then they sold out
That's
when
right.
they started.
Sellouts.
That's crazy.
Absolute sellouts. Actually, if I could get you this photo just for a good laugh, but a buddy of mine, Nick, the guy who I do House of Vinyl Built with, my podcast, I started becoming friends with him, and we got to the point where I went over his house, right, for the first time, and this was in college, so it's not like weird like that where we had to like set up a play date and that, but like he's like, hey, why don't you come over, right? So we're in his basement and we're watching TV, and like underneath the TV stand, I see a picture, right, and I go, that looks a hell of a lot like Mark McGrath, and don't I like army crawl over, right, and I look and I'm like, what the fuck is this? It's him on stage with this shit-eating grin next to Mark McGrath. I go, what is going on? He goes, oh, yeah, I just got pulled up on stage at a Sugar Ray concert. Like, it was so nonchalant, like it was no big deal. I go, do you understand how catastrophic this is? This is hilarious. I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. Like, I wanted to steal the picture and take it for myself and just mantelpiece it.
Dude, that's so funny.
People walk in your house. What is that picture? Oh, this is this kid I went to college with. This is him up on stage. Mark McGrath.
Just some guy I know
I
with
mean,
Mark McGrath.
right? Like, what a conversation piece. Be like, oh, yeah, my buddy got pulled up stage at a
Blow it
Sugar
up. Get
Ray.
it put in like a really, really nice frame. Like it's supposed, like it's true artwork.
Oh, my God.
Oh. So, a real question. How did you start doing the chase? How did you start getting involved with David Adams?
Oh, man. Well, apologies ahead of time if I'm being long-winded. Interject, cut me off.
We
if you
want
have
the
to.
we want the long
he
wind.
will.
Yeah, and
Well, yeah,
I'll
we-
get there.
all right,
Something
good.
will spark my interest, and I'll take us off the
Isolate,
rails. Don't
isolate
worry.
that. We want the long wind.
Good.
Isolate, keep that.
So,
I wish we did episode titles.
oh, you don't, huh?
No.
Oh, yeah. I feel like we could have DEF CON, what could be like, all right.
DEF CON 4 with Troy Licastro. Yeah.
That sounds like a movie. That sounds like a straight to TV movie. DEF CON 4 with Troy
Like
Licastro.
Death Wish.
Yeah, so I had worked at David Adams previously from about the fall of 2011 to the winter of 2018. Literally like New Year's Day, I think, going into 2018. So I had been there a long time. I had kind of climbed the ranks, I guess, if you will, or just got different opportunities to really grow in the company. But it wasn't what I had gone to school for. I went to Buff State for 4.5 years, broadcast journalism. So as much as I really enjoyed David Adams, I was like, I kind of want to get into my profession, like, my field, what I went to school for. So I ended up getting a part-time gig at Channel 7, but I still worked at David Adams. And then finally it just got to a conflicting point where I couldn't work both. So I ended up at Channel 7 for a little bit part-time, but I was like, I can't stick part-time, right? And lo and behold, one of my former professors from Buff State called me up and said, hey, what you're doing at Channel 7, I have over at Channel 4 full-time. And pretty much like, come in, let's talk, but pretty much the job is yours if you want it. So that was like the last almost 4 years for me, was spent at Channel 4.
What were you doing there?
So it's called assignment desk. So basically with that job,
I interned on assignment desk at the NBC station in Baltimore
I'm
for
sorry.
a summer. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Dude, I'll tell you.
So you feel my pain,
yeah,
is what you're saying.
I'll tell you one. I got one story about that, but I'll wait.
Wait, who's going to interrupt now?
I know. Sorry, my bad. But I want to.
It was a trigger
but
thing.
that's
there.
just so he knows we're hip to the lingo of what an assignment desk is.
Who's we? You can be.
Well,
Hey,
yeah,
I'm
but
not
I
clue.
Yeah, he's in the dark over there,
I'm
huh?
bringing you in.
Yeah.
I'm trying to paint a picture for everybody. You know
That's
what I
why
mean?
my eyes are closed over here, man. I'm just taking
Look at
it
you.
all in. Yeah.
All right. Listen closely. I'll do some ASMR. But yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know, assignment desk is basically you're kind of the nucleus where, you get emails, and you have to send photographers out to stuff. So you have to get basically a schedule for a photographer. Like, hey, I need you to shoot this at 11. When you're done with this, I need you to be here at 1:30 to talk to this person, and so on and so forth. But not only that, you listen to the scanners. If there's breaking news, if there's a fire, if there's a shooting, whatever it may be, you gotta, you might have to divert one of your photographers and have them go there. Or if you have a free one, it's like, hey, you got to get down there now.
Yeah.
And you're working with reporters on, what their stories are going to be, what they kind of have set up. So you're basically gathering the information that your producers are going to write in their scripts and in their rundowns type situation.
Gotcha.
So I spent my first year, I would say, doing that. And I had been approached once or twice like, hey, do you want to be a producer? And let's just say I had a thought bubble, and some of the anchors there, I was like, no, I'm good. I don't want to have to work directly with them.
Yeah.
So what ended up happening is I held out, and I was on the assignment desk, and then I moved to digital work. That was all behind the scenes, though. It was all just, managing the Twitter, managing Facebook, managing, Instagram, but mostly writing articles, making sure things got out there, making sure the website was like where it needed to be. And I spent pretty much the rest of my time at Channel 4 doing that, even getting somewhat of a managerial role. And I know this all sounds well and good, like, oh, great, you're climbing the ladder. But when the pandemic hit, that was a tough news cycle. Working in it was just tough because it was just a grind day in and day out, because you're listening to the governor for an hour, and then later on that day you're listening to our Erie County executive for another hour and a half, just every day. It got to a point where I felt like I could make a template of a story for a web story and just change out the names. That's how covering coronavirus felt, how the pandemic, COVID, it felt like I was just writing the same story over and over and over again, just taking out and adding little details here and there. And then, obviously into 2021, things got a little bit better, but I just felt like I had plateaued there. I had learned a lot. I had made really good friends. I had made really good relationships with my coworkers. A lot of great people work over there. And I learned a lot professionally and personally. I grew a ton. But on the professional side of things, I just felt as though I had plateaued. And, some inner station things had happened where I realized I don't think I was going any further. So that's when I started just really pumping out resumes to everybody. I mean, I was trying to stay within social media work or, PR, or, things of that nature. And just things weren't landing. It just wasn't happening. And then in about September, October of 2021, I get a call from one of my really good friends over at Dave & Adams, who is, now he's up in the company. He's one of the higher ups. But, I had worked at retail with him for years. And he said, hey, listen, we're trying to build out this content team. It's still very fresh. It's still very new. But we have this idea that we want to do a morning show for the hobby. And, we think with your experience that you could, possibly host it, you and somebody else. And I was like, okay. It was one of those things where I never wanted to just jump into a job just to get out of 4. I was just gonna, bear it and just grind until I could find the right job. And just because, perfect example, my dad, there was times where I was like, what if I just get up and walk out? Or like, I just want to leave. Right. And then I would have my dad on my shoulder being like, telling me that's stupid. Like, don't just not have a backup plan or anything like that. So it's like I said, I stayed the course. I put in my work there. And so I told them, I told Dave and Adams, I said, yes, this all sounds great, all well and good to me, and I'm interested for sure, but it's got to be the right schedule, and obviously the money's got to be there. Now, money's not everything, right? I was in a position at 4 where I was like, I just want to get out of here. I just want to get out of here. The culture had just kind of gone a little sideways at that time there. So I was just ready to move on to something different and just have a better work-life balance. Because that's the thing, too, news. You're working holidays. The hours are poor. You're working weekends. It's a big combination of things. So sure enough, Dave and Adams was able to offer me a Monday through Friday. The money was there. And I had still known a lot of the people who worked there. David Adams is one of those places. It's a great, locally owned and operated company here in Western New York, and it's a very family vibe. It's a family culture. So I decided to accept the position, and I went back. And day one, I'm seeing people that I haven't seen in years, but they welcomed me back with open arms, like we had just been away for the weekend, and we came back to work on Monday and saw each other. And it's been amazing. So we didn't start the chase right away, but I got into breaking. The card breaking is huge right now. It was always around, but it skyrocketed in the pandemic because everybody
what people were doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody was home. You couldn't go to the casinos. You couldn't do anything. You couldn't go to your local card stores. Obviously, there's no sports. So people were tuning in, and it skyrocketed. So that was the thing, too, is as well as expanding the content team, I think they wanted to expand, some breaking. So I got into breaking. And then finally, in the spring, early summer, we started the chase. And it's just been kind of going ever since. So it went from a pipe dream. And that's the thing. I've never done on-camera work, right? It's always been behind the scenes. And they were like, your experience. I was like, I've never done anything in front of the camera work, but I'm like, all right, let's do it. Because I'll tell you right now that even though I really enjoy social media and that aspect of a job in general, I've always wanted to be in front of the camera. I've always wanted to be a personality of some sort in whatever field it may be. And I mean, it's really sounds cliche, but it's a very stars aligned moment. I mean, it's sports cards, it's being a personality in front of the camera. Like, it's a perfect marriage of the two things that I've wanted to do, right? And so, yeah, it's been off and running since, and we're just trying to continue to grow week by week. But things are going very well, and I couldn't be happier for this opportunity, honestly.
That's so cool, man. And it's a good show. I was watching it this morning.
I appreciate that.
And I'm glad I watched it this morning as well because you had the Marvel card guy on.
Sure did.
And I was like, oh, okay. So I also love the term the hobby that you guys always use.
Yep.
I'm like, oh, okay. So this really is the hobby. This isn't just sports cards. This is all
it's all encompassing.
Trading cards. Yeah.
It's trading cards. It's memorabilia too.
Oh, and you were talking Pokemon today. So I assume if you talk like Magic stuff as well.
Magic we haven't delved into as much.
Yeah.
Pokemon's just massive right now.
Yeah.
Like worldwide. It's got that worldwide appeal. And, I think we were focusing on sports cards, but, we're starting to kind of blend in some other things as we go along because I think there is a lot of people in the Twitch chat and obviously people who watch the replay on YouTube or listen to us afterwards. I think they're clamoring for that too. They want some TCG talk. Well, that might not be my strong suit. The good news is, we have a good team where we all have our things and we're able to kind of bring it together into one, good conversation where, we have an expert or, a guy who knows a lot about TCG and Pokemon where I could kind of riff with them and ask them questions that I'm just genuinely curious about because I don't know as much as them. Like today, when we were talking about Pokemon, the guy who was talking, his name is Tyler. He's the director of content, but he was helping fill in today. I was genuinely just asking him questions that I knew he'd be able to answer for me, or at least give me something. So
yeah, it was interesting when he was talking about how the English version of the card of Pokemon cards used to be more popular, and now Japanese is kind of taking that over. I guess I would have just assumed that that's the way it always would have been.
Same.
Yeah.
That was it. Perfect example right there. Yeah, when he said that, I was genuinely intrigued. I was like, why? Well, why do you think that is? Because I had always thought it just had been that way.
Did he give an answer for why that was?
He did not like a specific. Not like a specific answer. But I think it goes back. I think he was saying just, Japanese culture is, I don't want to say at an all-time high, but it's very, very popular right now.
Yes.
So I think that's why you might be starting to see that shift, because people enjoy Japanese culture so much and are so intrigued by it. Yeah. And I think, that's where the roots of Pokemon are. So I think those people are like, well, I want the real the original.
Yeah,
real
and that's
the uncut.
That's what that would be my, if I had nobody to explain it to me, that would be my justification of it, especially as it continues to get more and more popular in the collecting and trading aspect of things. Now that a lot of people are doing it, everybody wants to have, the best stuff, and something that seems more authentic might be more not valuable from a financial perspective, but valuable from a
collector perspective.
From a collector's perspective, I want the real deal. I want the most authentic version of whatever that I can get.
I'm gonna tell you right now, though. I know you're saying that. I will say, though, in terms of financial, I'm sure you've seen financial, though. It ain't nothing to sneeze at.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it. I will say one thing that I think very much helped, I guess, at least on the Pokemon side of things, while we're talking about that specifically. Let's be honest, Logan Paul.
Yeah. That whole ordeal.
The whole ordeal, the whole card he had. Actually, when we went to Atlantic City for that big convention, that card was on display. The Pikachu Japanese thing that he had in the gold case or whatever with the chain that he was wearing around his neck. It was actually on display.
That's pretty cool.
So, that's another thing is I think these people, and when I say people, celebrities, I guess, they're starting to bring collecting and the aspects of it into the mainstream.
Yeah. And that's why I think it's so cool when, you said you guys kind of started with sports cards and now you're branching out a little bit. I like to listen to, I'm obviously a huge sports fan.
Yeah.
And I always had sports cards growing up. I would love to have the time to collect those again. I have a couple friends who have gotten back into it recently and they love it. But I just think learning about other stuff like that, because I was always doing, I was always sports focused. I never knew much about Pokemon. I say this all the time, but Dungeons and Dragons to me has become such a cool thing, and I love listening and watching content based off of it, and it's something that I never would have even attempted to understand and or enjoy until that kind of started happening, right?
Yeah.
People started bringing it, and then Andrew, and now we have the Quested guys in here and they're awesome, and it's such a cool thing to do, and it kind of shares that line of you were saying that you think there's a lot of people in your chat or watching these videos on YouTube that maybe have been wanting that content, but I bet you there's a lot more that weren't expecting it that now enjoy it.
I think so too. And another example of today's episode, perfect, is that, to your point, I was watching the chat as we were interviewing the guy who was big into these Marvel cards, and there's this big Marvel release that was coming out today. And there were people in the chat that were like, this is very insightful. Wow, this is, I'm learning stuff that I didn't know. And honestly, I'm intrigued to possibly buy Marvel cards now.
Yeah.
And I think that's, in my eyes, that's one of the goals. In my head, that's one of the goals, is I want to bring those people in. As much as I want to have these big names in the hobby on the show, or, I had the opportunity to interview Run TMC, Tim Hardaway, Chris Mullen, and Mitch Richmond. That's great. I want those people too. and I want to get their stories about, if they're collectors of any sort. It's great. I could talk about their basketball accolades, but I feel like people have heard interviews of them talking about that 10 times over.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we have, I would say, a little bit of an advantage, where we have this thing, the hobby, that we can talk to these athletes and these different people about that they may have never been interviewed about before.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is the big names are great. I want that, but I also want these people that are just hobby insiders.
Yeah.
That's their job, and they know all about it, and they're big in that community. I want to have them on because I think they're more relatable, and the chat gets involved, and they start wanting to ask questions to the person, or they'll comment like, this young man is doing, we had a kid, he's 19, his name's Chase, he goes by Lil Pullman, he's one of the breakers, he's big in Miami. And when I say big, I mean he's got tens of thousands of followers, and he is breaking product that is tens of thousands of dollars at 19. He has a full staff working for him.
Jesus Christ.
He goes, yeah, I got 5 phones.
5 phones?
I could barely manage one.
That's crazy.
That's what I'm saying.
5 phones?
I mean, this kid is blowing up. I mean, his local news has done a couple stories on him. And that's the thing. We bring these people where you see these personalities go live on TikTok or on Instagram or on Twitch, whatever platforms they're on. And, you see them breaking and you see their hands in that. And I'm sure you shoot the shit with them on the live stream. But to actually get these people to sit down and, get where they started from, or, their current thoughts on the hobby, I think it really humanizes them, and it allows the chat to connect them a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, I think passion is something that everybody can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very
100%.
interesting with cards because especially you have the two sides of that coin, that is the sports card, and then the, trading card games like Pokemon and stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
It really builds a bridge between people that, might not have a lot in common, but they get cards. That's one thing that's very specific to cards, because especially in terms of, I always relate cards to comics because of obviously you're collecting them, but also the grading process.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's no sports comic books.
No.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So you really only have the one audience for that.
Sure.
And just today, eBay bought somebody, right?
Yeah, so eBay actually bought a company called TCG Player, which was a eBay-type platform for people to buy and sell and trade just strictly trading card
Cards.
games. Yeah, but strictly like Pokemon
Yeah.
and things of that nature.
Oh.
Actually, I found out, too, it's actually a Syracuse-based company, TCG
Oh, cool.
Player. So, yeah, eBay purchased them for, I think, like 200-something million.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it was a pretty big purchase.
eBay's so huge for cards, though.
Well, that's the thing
Right.
is, and I think this is where Beckett did a good thing. If you're familiar with Beckett started as just a book, a magazine, if you will, or a catalog, and it started as that was where you went to get the value of cards. They would have 1989 Upper Deck, whatever, Gretzky's card number 275. You had to go down, look up card 70, whatever, 275, and then you'd look over and you'd be able to see the values. Well, when eBay came into the fold, Beckett the catalog at least kind of went away. Now Beckett does grading, authenticating, things of that nature. So they're still obviously a very relevant player in the hobby. But eBay now, really for the most part, in terms of at least singles, like after you open up the packs and boxes, I think it really drives the market in terms of cards, like
100%.
the value.
Yeah, it seems. Yeah.
So yeah, eBay is huge in card collecting.
I mean, I feel like cards gave eBay a resurgence.
Sure.
I feel like eBay, I don't know, I didn't go on eBay for a long time, and I hadn't even heard about eBay really for a long time, just because Amazon,
Facebook Marketplace, so you could
Oh,
get.
even- I mean, yeah, even that
you
now,
could
I
get
guess,
like
but-
other resold things other
Yeah.
places, and you didn't have
Absolutely.
to figure it out that way.
right. But yeah, that's so that is cool. It makes sense because I feel like cards have just been so big for them. But
Like I think also, and you talked about it a little bit when you talked about how the pandemic helped kind of give this. I don't know if you'll call it a resurgence, what it is, but it seems like it. Maybe they haven't necessarily grown in popularity for who's buying, selling, trading, and that and whatnot. But a lot more people are aware that like cards are back is like how I would look at it.
So that's what they're calling it is. So they're calling it the boom. They're calling it the second boom. So like the first boom is when I don't know if your dad collected.
Like our parents were.
When our parents collected in like the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
That was like the first big card boom when it was huge. And then I will say it was always there, but it wasn't as relevant. So yes, the pandemic definitely led to the second card like boom.
Yeah.
And now we're kind of seeing it not be stagnant, but we're in the boom. I think we're just we're riding the wave right now. We're riding the success of the last 2 years, and I think that's what you got to do right now. Is you got to grab on and just ride the wave, and that's why that's why I take so much pride in doing the chase and trying to make it the best show we could be, because literally right now, like I'm not just blowing smoke out of my ass and saying this, but right now we are literally the only ones in the hobby that's really doing this.
Yeah.
And have a platform to do this.
Which is very smart on Dave and Adam's end, because they,
100%.
it seems like they've really put a lot of resources towards what you guys are doing.
They have. And, that's the thing is, this is not just me for the cameras, too. Like, I am very grateful for the opportunities that they have given me so far.
And, like, I remember the day I might sound weird, but it's not weird. It's something that I remember, like, because I went and looked it up after. I remember the day that you like posted on Twitter that you were leaving for going back to work for Dave and Adams, and I was like, because at the time I had always, I remember going to Dave and Adams when we were little and buying cards, but I didn't know, that they were more than, I guess a retail store that sold cards, and I knew they had memorabilia too. So it's kind of been interesting to follow what they've been putting forward and kind of how they're backing people like you to help them bring, what they have into a platform, into a light that they haven't had before.
Because that's really the only way to extend the current boom.
Yeah.
Is because this is how new people are going to find things. Everything is a lot more easily accessible now because of the way technology has developed.
Yeah.
But you got to use it the right way. And that's what they're doing. And I also, the pandemic blew up collectibles across the board.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize just how far ahead, though, cards was from all the other ones that went bumped up. Because the last time I was at Dave and Adams was a couple months ago, and they used to have a big comic book section, a huge one. It was sick. It's all cards now. It's all cards all the time. Because I assume that's what's bringing in the cash, baby.
And that, like, when you buy, like, if you buy a nice pack of playing cards, like, you're paying for a nice pack of cards.
Yeah.
Like, there's, I know there's all the different kinds of boxes. I won't even attempt to try to pretend like I know that stuff.
There you go. We're off to a good start. You've got one.
But sitting there, if you, like, watching it is, it's super enjoyable. Again, it's like gambling. You create that, but getting to do it yourself, knowing like, ooh, like I spent a lot of money on this, like, and I get to open it right now and look at like the 6 cards or whatever, 8 cards that are inside, and I hope like, it's addicting. Like you just want to sit there and tear.
Well, that's like, I tell everybody I'm pretty like straightforward with them. Like I'm transparent where I'm a big memorabilia guy.
Yeah.
I do like collecting, but I like collecting memorabilia. Mm-hmm. I have a big vinyl collection. I have autographed vinyl, all different autographed pieces. I love cards, right? But That's just my personal thing,
Yeah.
that it's not
That's what
something
stuck
I
for
want
you.
to
Yeah.
it's not something I want to invest in. I want to invest in memorabilia that I can display, and conversation starters and conversation pieces, or just things that I can have around the house in this proverbial man cave that maybe I'll have one day.
Yep.
But that's what I like about my job now, is it's all the fun of card collecting, but it's not.
You do it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
that's
amazing.
Unbelievable.
But that's not. But and that's the thing is, everybody's got their thing, right? Everybody has their thing, and I know cards are huge. Cards are beautiful now. They're not just the cardboard that was chopped up in a machine.
Yeah, the artwork and like the different styles of cards.
Oh, yeah.
They're so cool.
And even like what you were saying about memorabilia, the cards you were opening today might have even had something like this. But
The jersey swatch.
The jersey,
on it.
yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It combines the two. It's a
Right.
great idea.
Exactly. And that's the thing is, I'm always very respectful and thankful that these people are spending their hard-earned money with us and want us to open it. Because I think sometimes for people it's just like a virtual way of having to hang out at a bar with your buddies.
Yeah.
That's how I go into it. Like when I'm breaking, I love interacting with the chat and that. So as I'm opening the cards, like, there's times where we have time constraints and I gotta fly through stuff. But like if we're just, if somebody buys a box or two and they're like, hey, do you have time to open this? Sure. So you go, you grab the order, you put it down, and then that's when you're kind of just
sick.
Conversation, hanging out. Obviously, you talk about, and that's the thing too, is you do talk about sports in the chat, but it ends up just going off the rails into other just pop culture, random stuff, things like that, and it's amazing. It's really a community.
It's like hanging out with a group of people.
Yeah.
Well, it's such a cool, because you'd think opening a pack of cards, I mean, it always has been until now, but is a very lonely type of deal. And now you can do it in front of everybody, and everybody's on board with it.
And everybody's cheering everybody on, too.
Because they want to
yeah.
see you. Like, everybody wants to see the cool card
Yes,
get
everybody
pulled.
wants to see
100%.
it pull.
100%. And there's like a guy that we had in the chat who's there religiously, right? He came up to Buffalo and like wanted to meet us out for a beer, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like you're actually making legitimate friends. There's one guy in the chat that wants me and a couple other guys I work with. We're gonna be in like a free fantasy football league with him.
Oh, that's cool.
that
Just like
sounds
random
fun.
shit like that.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
This is a side story, but are you a big fantasy football player?
Yes. I try to limit myself to like one or two teams because I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't have the time or like.
I play in
patience.
2 leagues. I only play in 2 leagues, and I always keep like I'll swap the 2 leagues. Like this year, I'm leaving one, joining another.
Yeah.
But 2 leagues is the most amount of time I can commit to fantasy football. But there's a guy that I found on Twitter, and one of my really good friends, Alex Bauer. He has like a severe talent when it comes to Twitter.
A severe
I tell you
talent?
right now, I know Bauer too. Never did I think I would hear the word severe and talent with that kid be used in the same sentence.
Maybe
Like,
one of them, but not
he-
both.
yeah.
I love you, Alex.
Like he can just navigate Twitter like nobody's business. Like he's got it to a science. So I'm on Twitter one day, and it was like NHL, the video game, or maybe it was like, I don't know, a hockey account tweets out, who are the best 3 players in the world right now. So of course I go to the replies because I'm like, I got to see who people are saying. I'm not a reply guy, but I like to still sit there and make myself a little angry based off what other people are saying. So I come across this guy, and like the 3rd tweet down, I see him reply, and his replies, something like, Brad Marchand is the 2nd best player in the NHL, or actually I lied. It was of all time was the question. So he said Connor McDavid 1. He's not disagreeing with anybody saying McDavid 1, but Brad Marchand is 2 all time. So like that's above not only in today's NHL, whoever. It doesn't matter.
Ovechkin,
Nathan
I don't know,
McKinnon, but
Sidney
also like
Crosby.
above Wayne Gretzky and all these people.
Yeah.
So I look and I'm like, this is crazy. Scroll down. Boom. He replies again. So I got about 27 tweets down, and he replied to every single one of the 27. This same guy saying, like, you're crazy. Brad Marchand, number 2, not up for debate. Like, going crazy. So I'm like, I have to send this to. Whenever I see things like that on Twitter, I'm like, I send them to Bauer because he will handle it however it needs to be handled, right? So
He's the handler.
I send it to Bauer. I'm like, dude, just go through this guy's tweets, because now I go to his profile and I'm reading his other tweets that aren't replies to this, and
Just other bad takes.
80% only Brad Marchand, not the Boston Bruins, just Brad Marchand. Like 10% horrible Patriots tweets. Like, and he's not even, I know now he's not even from Boston. I'll tell you the reason I know that. So Bauer, Bauer and this guy have started pretty much their own little like relationship where every single day they tweet back and forth at each other like stupid stuff. Like if he sees Bauer tweet a regular tweet that has nothing to do with it, he'll reply to it.
See this.
Like, I'll pull up his Twitter. Like, so him and Bauer started a fantasy football league. No money involved, just the two of them, and then they're filling it with randoms, just so the two of them can compete in fantasy football because of like how much they hate each other, but also kind of love each other now because all they do every day is tweet at each other. This guy's from Rhode Island. I found him in random replies, and now like every time I see Bauer, he's like, "Did you see so-and-so's tweet at me?" I'm like, "No, dude, I was working. Like I was doing stuff. I was at the grocery store."
Talk about long-term storytelling.
It is crazy. I can't wait to show you this guy's Twitter. He's a nutball. He's a hysterical guy though. Now that I know like why he does what he does, to see him go at Bauer and to have Bauer like walk in my room at like 11:30 at night, like fucking so and so, he's trying to tell me Brad Marchand's better than. I'm like, yeah, he's been telling you that for about 9 months now. Like his opinion hasn't changed.
I'll tell you right now, if anybody ever comes up to you and tells you that Alex Bauer has commitment issues, you pull that story out because he is committed. That is impressive.
Oh, he's one of a kind. And actually, the two of them. This guy has also, this is random, but the one day Alex said, like, you really want to keep debating this? Like, I know somebody that has a platform we can go on and debate it, and he agreed to like come on a mic and like debate Bauer.
Oh,
but
really?
I don't know that I'm ready for that yet. I think I'm in the honeymoon phase with where they are. I don't know if I can introduce them to each other. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I hear that.
That's something.
Yeah, he's yeah. I don't know how I started on
better
that.
than all he does on Instagram is use his what is it called? His burner accounts to comment. And he needs to come back on the show more.
He loves. Yeah.
Oh, he's the KD of Instagram?
Yeah, big time.
Who knew?
Yeah, he loves commenting on our Instagram as like multiple fake accounts. Like, when's Alex Bauer coming back on the show? Yeah.
Bro, has he got that much time on his hands?
No, this is what I'm saying about why I said like a severe talent. Like this is what he does.
That's impressive.
Like, he loves social media like to a fault.
He's got to be on the clock for some of this stuff.
Oh, big,
Impressive.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Kudos to him.
Oh yeah.
I did want to ask you about the national convention.
Yeah.
Going into it, how long had you been doing the chase before you went? How long before you really dove back into the world?
Honestly, we started it in June. So I'd say we started in the beginning of June.
Yeah.
And by the end of July, we were at the National.
So did you have any idea really how crazy it was going to be?
So, yes and no, I'll say. Because when I did work at David Adams the first time, I did have the privilege to do 2 nationals, working just as part of the David Adams booth, just selling stuff and talking to people. I did one in Chicago, and I actually did one in Atlantic City. So it was almost a homecoming type of situation.
I'm back, boys.
Daddy's home. So 2 words that you shouldn't. 2 words you shouldn't utter in Atlantic City. I'll tell you that much right now. So it was one of those things where they're like, "Well, we want to bring it down to the National." So let me tell you too, we took that entire studio, broke it down, built it up, broke it down, built it up, and it ain't no easy ride. Like that trust is difficult. But I had known what Nationals were before, and they were crazy back then, right? Atlantic City, not as much. What you'll see with the National is it's always successful when it's in Chicago. Why? Because it's Midwest. So you're getting the people from the East Coast, you're getting people from the West Coast, and then you're getting the people, obviously, there. Everybody's coming in for this thing. People take their vacations around this thing. Because that's the thing, too, is people might think it's just like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing. If you're a VIP and you spend a lot of money in this, you're there Wednesday. So you're there Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
You get
Sunday.
like first
dibs.
first look at
First look. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they do is if you're a super VIP or a VIP, you get a lanyard, you get the tag, and you get in for like a preview night.
Mm-hmm.
And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the actual show itself. And that's the crazy part to me that people don't understand is like they do like, some people take their families to Disney World, right? There are families that literally will go to these cities just to do the National for the week with their family. So I had seen it before the card boom, right? So it was crazy. But I'll tell you right now, this second time around, I was walking around just like, oh my God. Because it is. It's like, it's way different. In the best way possible, though. To me, there's a lot more pomp and circumstance that there used to be around it. Because you're seeing all these companies. eBay's got this huge display and huge booth, and Beckett's got this big one. PSA. There's a streaming platform that's really made for cards and card breaking called Whatnot. Whatnot did this whole thing where they made it look like the Atlantic City Boardwalk, and they had games people were playing. Like they were building this thing, just these huge displays. So it's just amazing. It's a spectacle. And it's a thing, too, where now it's not that it wasn't before, but it's a very all-inclusive thing. Men, women, children, anybody. It doesn't matter who you are, anything. There's just all walks of life there. And it was crazy. Crazy. But I'll tell you right now, it was probably one of the most rewarding things I've done since I've been back. I met so many different people that had great stories, but on top of that too, we had a chance to sit down and do interviews or just, off camera, meet a lot of influencers. Because that's the thing. Believe it or not, you see influencers, you see influencers in the wild all over the place. The hobby has influencers. They're these people that just crank out content on their Instagram and that, but also do breaks and big breaks, big money breaks, or different things of that nature, and they're huge in that space. And I'll tell you right now, the hobby is one of those things that I think nobody really had an ego. There wasn't anybody that I met that was like, well, I have more files than you, I'm better than you.
I'm not going
to
sit down with you and have this conversation kind of thing.
Everybody was like, no, dude, like, tell me when. I'll totally sit down with you guys, right? And I made so many connections that way that now, and that was the big thing for me, is I wanted to pass out our cards. I wanted to tell people about the chase. I mean, we had people like, you guys know Gary Vee? You guys aware of Gary Vee,
yeah.
right? He was walking around. He stopped and like looked at our set, and I think he had one of his umpteen people following him around, like take a little snippet, a little video of our set. He winked at me. No big deal. I'm just saying. But like Gary Vee and like, other people that are big in that hobby space were stopping by, and, we had so many compliments that were like, wow, your setup is great. What you guys are doing is great. And it goes a long way because, obviously use is not the right terminology, but I want to make these connections and have these people back on the show and recurring guests and keep doing different content with them. It doesn't even have to be on the chase. I think there's great opportunity for collaboration in some form. But it was just so rewarding. I felt like I went home with, so many new friends and things like that. And I feel like one thing summed it up for me on the way home, where it was like, I just spent this whole week in Atlantic City doing this show on Twitch, interviewing NBA Hall of Famers, and getting this exposure for our show and for our company, and hopefully gonna build our audience, build our viewership, and build these friendships and connections. And then I got home on Sunday at like 8:30, and I'm just crushing a Wegmans sub in my Pier 1 import furniture. I'm just Troy Licastro again, who lives in North Buffalo. It's amazing. Just turn it on and just on and off, just like that. But that's what I love about it.
Yeah,
crushed it.
Really
It's
good.
like 14, 16 inch, whatever they have there, gone. Like it was nothing.
You get cut in 4s though. Like you get it. Some people only get it cut in half. They ask you now.
I do 4.
Yeah,
but
I need to do 4.
I'm glad you brought this up. Thank you, because I totally wanted to talk about this. Now, if you go to Wegmans, some of them, they have like the McDonald's things where you can customize your subs.
Ooh.
Right?
Yeah, like a touch screen, like a kiosk.
Like a touch?
Yeah,
yeah, like a kiosk. And I tell you right now, like a psychopath, they asked me if I wanted to cut it into 6. I said, you bet your ass I do.
6?
Six?
Into 6? You're
See,
a wild
this guy.
man. Yeah.
Just living on the edge.
No, that's crazy. I'll tell you why I love 4. This might sound weird. There's 2 scenarios here, but either way, this is how I play it. Because when you have a full Wegmans sub, it's a big sub.
Oh, hundos.
So you can easily eat 2 parts and save the other 2 parts. Regardless of what I do, I eat the 2 middle parts first. And the reason is because on a sub, if you get a sub that doesn't quite have enough meat to fill out the bread, the ends are the worst. But
Well played.
But
why would you leave those last then?
Because they put so much meat on a Wegman sub that the ends, like the way that the ends are so delicious to me. I have to eat the ends. Like I save it's a best for last type thing for me. I like the ends the best.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Only
strange.
really on a Wegman sub.
Right.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fair.
Because they already put so much meat on
Well,
there to
it's
begin
just
with.
it just seems like the perfect.
So by the time you get to the end, their version of the end is like the perfect amount of meat.
It's
whereas
the perfect.
the middle is just so much.
It's the perfect amount of everything. Because you don't want like crunchy bread really when you're eating a sub, but it's like the right amount of like hard rolly. At the
I
end
know
of, like,
exactly.
a Sesame Seed Wegman sub.
I do know exactly what you're talking about.
I
can
can't
taste
explain.
it.
I thought I was going to be able to explain that a lot better until I had to try to put it into words.
See,
the only other person I've ever had that conversation with is somebody who agreed with me. And we just were
Nobody
like,
challenged
dude, you do
you
that
on it?
too? And it was like, we didn't have
Yeah.
to explain it to each other because we knew exactly why we were doing it.
right. And then you hugged it out.
Yeah.
The whole thing, the whole
Yeah.
9. Went
We
and did
started
karate in the
fantasy football
garage. Yeah. Then we started fantasy football league.
Yeah.
I Wegman subs. 4s. 6 is crazy, but 4's like that's cool. If they ask me, I'll go half because I like feeling like I'm in a cartoon with like a Biggs. Yeah, I like
Just like
yeah,
unhinge it.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, the shake weight?
yeah. I like to shake weight that sub.
Yeah, it's a good workout.
He just like to unhinge the jaw and just.
Yeah. Yeah. Cartoon style.
I have been having some jaw problems. Maybe I need to rethink that strategy.
Bro, I'm going to tell you right now, lockjaw, it's an issue.
Have you had like the real thing before?
I used to have really bad.
I diagnosed myself
Yeah, I got you.
in terms of, this is my version of
Yeah,
lockjaw.
okay.
It's probably wrong, right?
No, I agree with you because
know.
yeah.
But
I'm
let's
on
say, let's say I'll eat this sober, but let's say sober or not, I'm going to build a McGangbang, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe it gets a little too big, right?
Yeah.
And I go to try to, and just locks
Uh-huh.
up.
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Yeah. I used to have
And
that.
then you're in pain for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
And then you kind of, you recoup, and then you're like, all right, I'm in.
It's one of my lockjaw is one of my biggest fears. I'm terrified of getting it because I don't know what do you do? How do you fix it?
That's the thing.
Well, I saw there's some America's Got Talent video or something. They had like this guy was like throwing knives, and so he had his wife put an apple in her mouth, and then he threw a knife at her face, and it like stuck in the apple. But this woman, so when the trick's over and like it was great, and everybody's like, oh my god, and this woman is standing there like, and they're like, oh my god, do you have lockjaw? And she's like.
She had
And
real
then I
life
don't know.
lockjaw.
I don't know what happened. I don't know what
The
happened.
video, America's Got Talent ended, and I never found out. Did
You know
they move on to the next round?
I'm going to tell you right now. Sorry to cut you off,
no,
but
you're fine.
in my opinion, the editors and producers, prick.
Yeah.
To not edit that out, if they're just leaving in this woman having lockjaw and in pain,
100%.
prick.
Yeah, but
They
it's
know
all
what
about
they're
the
doing.
drama.
They know what
100%.
they're doing.
They're building the drama.
But
They're
that's
selling it.
that's so scary.
I used to have the opposite problem. Like, this is not something that you would probably. So, like, have you ever been hit in the jaw, like, from below really, really hard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
not
it.
since
Yeah,
I was a
no.
little kid.
Yeah. So, like, when you would get hit, when your helmet would hit you in the chin like that, like repeatedly, you know what I mean? I would leave the rink and I'd be starving and I'd, be on my way home. I'd pick up like fast food or something and I would go to like eat, like a Wendy's chicken sandwich and I would go to try to eat it and I would realize I couldn't open my jaw and I'd have
Shit
to
probably felt like it was wired.
well, I couldn't.
Whoa.
I'd be like, so I'd have to wait like 2 hours and then eat my cold Wendy's, or I would have to like really painfully like try to like squish it together and like force a little bit and like and then kind of tongue it down a little bit and then swallow. Yeah.
There's a little ASMR for you there,
Yeah,
too.
and it would just like it would be Oppo lockjaw. I used to have that problem I had it for a long time. Not all the time, but
I don't envy you, friend.
no. It
for sure.
it hasn't happened in a long time. Probably about 2 years. So
I be honest with you, I thought you were going to say longer.
yeah.
So
no.
2 years actually seems pretty recent.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to be like, it hasn't happened in like a decade. He's like, a
no,
couple
2
years.
Yeah.
Couple years.
We were talking about lockjaw.
I like this podcast. I like the format of this podcast.
Yeah, there's
it could
not
just
a
go
whole-
anywhere.
Yeah, there's not a
yeah.
whole lot that
No, that's
goes on, and it's
especially when we have somebody like you on. Number one, I take that as a huge compliment, but also because your show, you have a set time. Like you have to, you guys can have a great time, but eventually, like you have to do breaks. You have to get to all this stuff, and that's why, like you, the No Label guys, if you ever heard of their podcast, it's all music.
Yeah.
They came on and they were like, let's talk about fucking AI and like all this shit. 'Cause
Yeah.
we don't have to talk about
aliens.
music.
Yeah, we can talk about whatever we want.
No, I love it. That's true. I feel like it is. It's a platform where I appreciate you guys letting me talk about the chase, but then we could just do whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit because you said this when you were talking about the chase, and it is kind of the same thing but different, right? Like you talked about how a lot of these people, when they're breaking or whatever they are, when they're showing cards, like a lot of it is, their hands, and sometimes they're interacting with the chat, but a lot of what you're seeing is them talk about, what they're doing and what a card is and whatnot. When you bring somebody on, your show, yeah, they're, you guys are there to talk about what they do, but now you're seeing this person's face, you're watching them, interact with other live people, and you're getting to know them and understand their personality more. And we say it all the time, like that is what the world is now. Like with social media, people aren't just fans of you because there's people that are still going to be fans of you because they like what you're doing. But I feel like there's a lot more people, in younger generations that could care less what somebody does, but they have become so accustomed to like their personality, and that's why they like that person. That's why they watch their content or follow what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, I feel that on a level where, I try to cut clips and I try to promote the chase as much as I can on my personal. But then I'll tweet that and, I'll get the help from people within the company and different people, some retweets and some likes and that. But I'll tweet random ass shit. Like today I just tweeted out, does anybody twerk anymore? And I'll get more fucking likes on that.
Yeah.
I just tweet what was the first thing
That's
When's the
fucking
last time
funny.
you twerked? September
08, probably.
2008.
Yeah.
Probably September 2008
About that,
was the
yeah.
last time I twerked.
Yeah, that was the time my feet were up on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had a tragic accident and I stopped
Yeah.
after that.
I got lockjaw from twerking so hard.
From doing a wall twerk. Yeah. Well, the gravity, if your feet are up and you're
And then your
Yeah.
jaw is it makes sense.
Yeah.
If you were if
It really
you do
does.
the math.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
It's science.
Before we go any further, let's do the Who Would Win of the Week.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Who Would Win of the Week this week is Dennis Rodman versus Ric Flair. The first time I remembered it in like weeks what we
Nice
decided.
job, Andy.
This is phenomenal. What did I say before? Two real cocaine-fueled loonies going at it. Dennis Rodman is so athletic, and also we were talking about the Bad Boys documentary, when he was on the Pistons, especially, that guy did not give a shit about his body. He was going for that fucking rebound, man. And he is just a lean, like, it's hard for me to imagine too many people putting up a good fight against him. Ric Flair, he's got the right personality to go up against Rodman.
Mm-hmm.
But when it really comes down to the feats of strength, is he going to be able to keep up?
I feel like one thing that neither of these guys lack is the ability to talk. Like neither of them, they can talk to talk. It's going to come down to, I agree with you, like which one of them would, in a sense, admit defeat first. And I don't know that it's necessarily either of them. Neither of them are going to do it easily, but there's no lack of pre-fight confidence at all. Like
That's
both
true.
of them are wholeheartedly convinced that they're going to win. Their celebration, their post celebration is already planned. They already
Rodman's
are.
got the jet fueled, and
Vegas
he's
is straight to
punched in.
Vegas.
He's
Yep.
ready to go.
Oh, Vegas? I was going to say Korea.
Yeah.
Straight to Korea. That's where he's going.
Yeah.
He's gonna have Kim Jong in his corner.
Yeah.
So I think for me, here's the interesting part. If we're talking, I think we could separate here. We could talk real life fight, but for those who may not know, Dennis Rodman did have a short stint in the late '90s while he was still playing with the Bulls in WCW, and actually did a couple tag matches with Hulk Hogan.
Really?
He did. So, interesting enough, there was a summer pay-per-view that WCW did called Bash at the Beach. It was Hogan and Rodman versus Diamond Dallas Page and Karl Malone.
Whoa.
That was a real tag team match on a pay-per-view.
That's awesome.
And this is like, you want to talk about, like, you go back to the Dungeons and Dragons thing, and I think about how nowadays I feel like it's okay to be a fan of whatever. Like, nobody's going to judge you. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to hide.
Right.
Like, I don't have to be a closet wrestling fan anymore.
Yeah.
You know? So, yeah, as like a big wrestling fan, that was at the height of, you want to talk about a boom? Wrestling had a boom in the late 90s, obviously, with Austin and The Rock. It was mainstream. It was very popular. So that was another thing where, no joke, I think it was either in the middle of or right after the 98 finals when Rodman faced Malone, when the Bulls faced the Jazz. And they beat him. So it was like right after that where Rodman was in the NWO with Hogan, and Malone was with DDP, and they had a tag match.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, this is why we got to, like, I want to pull that up right now.
Yeah, I know. It's in
We
the
will.
works.
We got the.
Yes, we can
got the
watch that.
technology.
We're working on the technology. I have a stat for you guys, and it was probably obvious, but I didn't look it up beforehand, and it's kind of taking the wind out of my sails a little bit. Dennis Rodman, NBA player. Obviously, I knew he was going to be a large man. 6'7". Ric Flair,
5'8".
Is he like just over 6?
6'1".
Okay.
okay.
I was gonna say I don't think he's like.
Well, it depends on if he
small.
has his hair on or not.
Yeah, but 6 inches is 6 inches is a lot.
Well, think about
it's
the
almost
reach.
too
Well,
much.
Think about the
on-
reach
it's-
too, the
it's-
wingspan.
Yeah, it definitely is almost.
Yeah,
too much.
if it was
That's
3 or
what
4,
that's
if
what
it
I've
was
heard.
3 or 4 inches, it would.
No, that's what I hear is the perfect amount actually.
Yeah.
So
No, but
Allegedly.
notoriously, height matters for me in these fights because I think that it matters. Like it's not like you're talking about two professional boxers. Like, well, I actually, but like that matters to me. A 6-inch difference is a lot to make up. And you said it: wingspan, reach.
Rodman, big time.
I think real life fight. Now Flair, his character, he fights dirty. Okay, so I don't think he'll have any problem taking shortcuts in this fight against Rodman.
Right.
That being said, Rodman's still going to kick his ass.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't think fighting dirty would throw Dennis Rodman off in the slightest.
And like if you started fighting dirty, he would
because he
fight
played
dirtier.
on that Pistons team.
Exactly.
Like,
He beat the
knows,
piss out of people.
He would.
Yeah.
He would fight dirtier without a doubt. He would do some nasty stuff.
Wrestling match, though, predetermined. I think Flair's going over.
You gotta write it. You gotta write it in.
You got to write. Rodman's going to be the bad guy. He's going to be the heel here.
Yeah.
You know, he'll do some dirty tactics. Flair comes in, slaps on the figure 4. Crowd pops. He goes over. I think that's just how it goes.
Put it in the books.
You
Put
write
it
it
in
in
the
there.
books.
You write it in.
So I think I'm going to lock in from a fight perspective. I'm going to lock in Dennis Rodman, not only because of the size, but I just think in general Ric Flair definitely has a crazy side.
Yep.
Dennis Rodman doesn't have a not crazy side.
He's the definition of crazy.
Yeah, he was like the first person.
He made crazy cool.
Yeah, he went off the rails, and people were like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, let's do that." Yeah. So I
want a rainbow. I want to dye my hair rainbow.
Yeah.
You should dye your hair rainbow.
No, I'm not doing that.
It'd
I don't think
be
it would look good.
You know
Yeah,
who
it would be
should?
funny, but
Alex Bauer.
Yeah.
He's committed. He'd do
We
it.
could get back.
tie his
Well,
fucking chest hair rainbow, dude.
This
There's
is
enough of it.
this is going to be a wicked ricochet shot, but unfortunately for Alex, the problem is day by day I have to remind him that take advantage of your hair while you have it, because it's slowly but surely it's leaving him. It's parting ways.
I know that all too well.
So
Your boy is thinning. That's why he's wearing a hat right
So
now.
I don't think that hair dye would be his best bet, because I think he runs the serious risk of
Just not
moving
coming
3 to
back.
5 years forward within the 2-week time span that he
Right.
dyes his hair.
But as far as this who would win goes, regardless of hair color, I have to go Rodman. There's no amount that guy could, you could really put that guy's body through some serious distress, and he's not stopping.
Yeah, I think
he
you could
doesn't. He
hurt
doesn't
him
feel
bad.
pain. He doesn't
No.
feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going Rodman.
I think it's a clean sweep. Here.
Rodman,
I think
3-0.
it's Rodman. I
3-0
just
for Rodman.
I
I think that would be such a fun fight to watch, though. I bet it'd be excellent.
I feel like him fighting anybody, when there's in a ring where there's people around and there's the element of showmanship, but
That's true.
would be unbelievable, because he'd be doing some crazy shit.
Well,
So
both of
that's-
those guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
3-0 sweep. Vote on that on Friday on our Instagram. Who would win of the week? Can I jump somewhere before you get started? You had a look in your eye like you had something
No,
to
I
say.
was just gonna say something weird about Dennis Rodman.
No, you could say it.
Did you ever guys hear about the sex act that he's attempted?
Which one?
Well, there's
I
this
feel like
one.
there could be multiple.
So he has said that there's this sex move that he always has wanted to pull off, and I think he said that he's only been able to pull it off twice, but he tries it every time.
The fact that he was able to pull it off
Twice.
at all.
Well, fucking wait till you hear what it is.
Can you demonstrate for us, or do you?
I can't. I can.
No, we
Maybe
don't-
in the
we were
wide
kidding.
shot.
Yeah, we don't want to see it. Get on
so
the table.
the woman that he's with lays down on the bed, spread eagle, and he stands on the other side of the room, and he has to run and jump and land inside of her.
He's done this twice.
He's done it twice, attempted it, Lord knows how many more times,
Yeah,
but he
we're,
successfully landed the eagle twice,
All right,
according to him.
back to what I was gonna say. Because I feel like that could take us too far off the rails. You talked a little bit about wrestling. Andrew and I have just recently discovered wrestling,
Okay.
and
All right.
it is. I feel like you might not like the reason that we like wrestling. We like it because it is hysterically entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have, we've been a little off our game. Things have been busy, but we were doing live streams, watching WWE for a little bit. And
really?
Yeah. So that's how the whole thing started, with the belt that you saw in there.
Yeah.
And we would sit there and just be so entertained, because we never watched it growing up.
Okay.
We never.
Yeah, the first time we watched it was for the live stream that we did of last year's SummerSlam,
Okay.
and yeah, never even really seen clips from wrestling. Seen maybe some just Hulk Hogan walking around the ring or whatever before.
Yeah.
So then going into it with that, and it was the SummerSlam where John Cena came back to fight Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
And it was incredible.
It was everything we could have possibly dreamed of.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah. When you get a Cena appearance, you know it's good.
Dude, it's because WWE is such a massive fucking company. Like, they're really only second to Disney.
Yeah.
And they have such loyal patronage.
Passionate
and it's
fans.
like,
you want to talk passion?
well deserved. Because I have to, like, I bet you, because if you're a wrestling fan, the way they pump out shit, you could have new content every single day and take up your whole day.
Yeah. Oh,
and they never disappoint.
Well, they have their own streaming service now too, correct? Or
Yeah.
were they working on that?
So what happened with them is they have the WWE Network, which is their own app streaming platform. Now that's in I think pretty much every country except maybe North America or just here. Here they signed obviously a massive money deal to be on Peacock.
Gotcha.
So all their content in America, at least in the
Is on
United States,
Peacock.
is now on Peacock.
I like Peacock.
It's not bad, but
Yeah,
but that's the beauty of wrestling, in my opinion. So my mom didn't necessarily really allow me to watch it growing up, when I was little. So when I would go to my cousin's house, he was a huge wrestling fan. He was a massive wrestling fan. So that's when I got kind of my fix. And I think it was one of those things where maybe because I wasn't allowed to watch it or, wasn't supposed to, I wanted to watch it more. So finally I just got to an age where I would flick it on and that was it. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just
you're
watching
watching
it.
it.
I'm
Yeah.
watching it now. But I think that's the beauty of wrestling is you can like it for so many things, And that's the thing is I think it's starting to become a little more mainstream again. Whereas before I really noticed it was you either like it or you don't. You either get it or you don't, right? But now I feel like you're getting casual fans who do know these mainstream people like a Brock Lesnar, like a John Cena, like a Roman Reigns. They're popular enough where they're transcending just what sometimes can be such a niche thing in professional wrestling. And that's the thing too. To me, I try to tell everybody, if you it's predetermined, right? Okay, we get it. We know it's fake. We know it's scripted, all that. If you take that side of things out and you really focus on the business aspect of it and the storytelling and the athleticism, then I think you'll see it in a much different light than it's just two guys greased up in underwear touching each other.
And I think
Big
that
time.
was perfectly said because I remember being, growing up, like, being in like elementary, middle school, and there was always like a debate between people who watched wrestling and people who didn't. And it was like, well, like there was always at the time it was always like, well, it's fake, like wow, blah blah. But when you look at it now, that's exactly it. It's like you're looking at it, and like if you watch it, and you're only going into it looking at it like this is pre-planned. Why am I watching two people fight? It's like, okay, well, 99.9% of the stuff you probably watch, unless you watch all documentaries, is all entirely made up and scripted. Like there is a story behind it. There's drama. There's there's good guys and bad guys, and there's things that happen and it is so entertaining, like the way that, and it's also not there. It's also not an easy thing to do. Like to be those people. Like one, it's very difficult on your bodies, and two, you have to be able to entertain in so many different ways that most people can't do, even if they're not also a ridiculously good athlete.
Their schedules are fucking insane. It's like every night you're pushing your body to the fucking limit. And again, with the it being predetermined and stuff, from an outside perspective, that seems like it would be such an important factor, is that all this stuff is decided beforehand. When you're watching it, that is that I couldn't give less of a shit if they know who's going to win. It doesn't matter, and that's a credit to them, like you said, with the storytelling and everything else that they do. But like, did you ever hear the Undertaker's interview on Joe Rogan? Did you ever listen to that?
No, I haven't listened to that one.
It's the only interview I've ever listened to with him, so I don't know how much of this stuff he said before. But, it's like a 3-hour-long podcast, and it is so good because talk about pushing yourself to the limits. Like, that guy was wrestling, and his body was broken.
Yeah.
Like, he talks about wrestling, and he didn't know that his neck was broken and all this stuff. Like, It's crazy.
And it's interesting too, because I think Undertaker is a good example because he's pretty much seen it all, right? His career spanned it over, I think, 3-4 decades, whatever it was. I think 30 years, 30-some years. But it's such a culture difference now, though, than it was back then. Because if you listen to guys like Undertaker or some of the older school guys,
I feel like Jake the Snake, especially because he's talked a lot about the shit that he's gone through.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is back then there was this thing called kayfabe. Like you had to act as your character everywhere you went, right? There was no internet, there was no social media, so to keep that suspension of disbelief and to try to make people believe you were a bad guy in that, you did just like bad guy actions outside of the arena.
You're just rude to people, yeah.
Yeah, like you had to stay in character the whole time. And also there was that thing where I'm sure Taker maybe have touched on it, but in terms of like the whole beating up your bodies and putting your body through shit, there's a ton of drug addiction. There's a lot of concussions and brain problems, and I'll tell you right now, guys from like the 80s and 90s, a lot of them dead.
Yeah,
dead. And it's different now because we do live in a social media age, and we can separate. We know these people aren't really assholes.
Yeah, characters, more or less.
They're playing people on TV, but you see them on social media, and obviously they're being themselves. But like you said too, with wrestling fans, I'll tell you right now, big wrestling fans are the worst. They are the worst because they get invested.
Oh yeah,
they are invested, and you want a sick Bauer on some internet trolls? Go watch the internet wrestling community.
Oh.
Some of the things they say and they do, I'm like, that's when I'm like, dude, it's predetermined. Like,
yeah,
like we all, we bitch. People bitch about wrestling like we would about a bad season or a bad game from the Bills or somebody on the Bills that's not performing. Levi Wallace. Anyways, but it's like that. They're like, oh, I don't like this direction they're going in, or what they're doing with them, or how they're writing them or using them in the story or on the show. And that's fair. Like, there are times where you can have just a good debate of what you think is good storytelling and what you don't, or where you could improve. Mm-hmm. But there are some people out there, man, it's like, then why are you buying tickets and going to this show?
Yeah, why
are you still tuning in?
I do love that though. For the wrestling matches we watched, probably every wrestling match, somebody comes out that's not supposed to be there. Like, that's the number one thing they have is wrestling. And they'll cut to people in the crowd, and from somebody who's never watched wrestling, I have no clue who this person is. And they're like, they're just losing. That audio platform, but they're just losing their mind. And I'm just like, man, like that somebody is watching this and just saw that and is like, is that like Rob from HR, like on the TV right now?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
God, yeah.
And they're just like, that's shirt off, like going crazy because
it feels so much easier to pick people out of a crowd at a WWE event.
100%.
Yeah, they do a lot of crowd shots.
They do a lot of crowd shots.
So
well, they're just like, what were we talking earlier? Oh, we were talking about America's Got Talent. Well, that's another thing. Obviously, the cameramen and the guys in the production booth, they know what they're like. They're like camera 1, camera 2, like go to this, go to this, go to this.
They do that in Hard Knocks all the time. Sometimes it makes me really upset. Like, they'll show guys that are probably going to get cut, and their parents will be in the crowd, and they'll show like they won't show a single good play this guy makes. They'll show him like drop his one pass, and then they'll cut to his parents, and his parents are like devastated, and it's like, why are you this is not what I want to see, the opposite of exactly what you're showing me right now.
Right.
Interesting. Because I feel like there was a time where the pendulum would have swung the other way.
Like, people want to see that.
But maybe it's just
there
because...
are definitely people that want to see that.
Yeah. Right. People love chaos.
But maybe it's just because what you're kind of saying is we're just kind of saying as a whole right there is people are more media savvy, so they know that they are doing that sort of thing on purpose. And that there's a lot that they're not seeing.
And I think...
So that makes sense.
I think for the first time ever, there are some people that are finally fed up with like negativity. It's like, come on, let's just throw some positive stuff out there for once. Like, you talked about it with the news. Like, I know you did it too. Oh, time out. You could tell. Is your Baltimore story is it not worth telling now, or is it worth going back?
Let's just keep rolling.
Okay.
I'll tell you later if it's whatever.
Yeah,
maybe
I didn't want to tee it up that hard because then it's like if this is a shitty story, then you're an asshole.
It's a cool story, but it has nothing to do with like it can wait, and if we don't get to it, it does not matter.
I don't even remember what I was saying, but I just feel like sometimes you do want to watch. Sometimes it's you do want to like in a setting like that, like watch the world burn. But after like X amount of years of actually like turning on the news and having to watch the world burn, it's like, all right, let's see like something cool, good happen, not necessarily like these guys get cut.
Well, it's one of those things where like I'm not going to rehash it. We don't have to rehash it, but we know all the things that were going on globally in the summer of 2021, in the summer of 2020, even just nationally. It took such a toll on me, and I've never really been like this, but it took such a toll on me because I had to deal with it day in and day out. I deleted my Twitter and I deleted my Instagram for a while, and I only went on because I had to for work.
Yeah.
When I got off the clock, and obviously I couldn't really leave the house, but I was doing something else.
Yeah.
I didn't even want to scroll on social media. I didn't want to be bothered by it.
I think a lot of people at different stages of the pandemic did that, like took a break from social media in some way or another.
Yeah.
And it was probably good for a lot of people.
It was weird. Did you have at a certain point this experience where because you're consuming this so much that it was kind of a shock when you would talk to people who weren't surrounded by it 24/7 and it wasn't consuming them the way it was just surrounding you?
Well, it's funny. I feel like it's funny you say that because I almost felt like the only escape I got from it was talking to my coworkers. Because that's the thing too with local news. I'll reiterate that I worked with a lot of great people, and I loved just about everybody I worked with. Because you're all in the trenches together. You see these people more than your family. You are with them 5 times, possibly 6 times a week, and you're spending just about 8 hours with them, 9 hours with them, pretty much every day. So you may not all think alike in different aspects, but there's just some common ground that you have where at that point, obviously we talked about, somebody went to a story and what just had, like, you won't believe what so-and-so said, or, what I just had to do and that. And we would talk about things like that, but I think generally for the most part, it was, either complaining about other things or trying to talk about other things. It was when I would go out in the wild, when things were able to kind of open back up and we could start doing some things again, that I feel like that's all anybody ever wanted to talk about. And I like to think that you guys know me well enough where you can't get me to shut up. Like usually I'll talk. I can talk for days and days. But when it came to stuff like that, people would just beat it like a dead horse. And obviously I know, like you said, no sports. Like at one point, honestly, that's kind of all there was. But I was shut down in terms of I'd just be like, it'd be a very one-sided conversation. Yeah. I didn't really have much to add to it because I was like, I already just dealt with this for 8 hours. I don't really feel like talking about it.
Yeah, you give it enough energy to that.
It's enough.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how my take was on it during really the height of everything.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know that I think it was such the way like you put it, and this is definitely not the road that I want this conversation to go down, but to kind of end it, it was such that people were so sick of it that all they wanted to do was talk about it sometimes. And it's like, let's do anything else. But in a sense, there really was not much else going on.
Yeah. Yeah, it right, like you said. I don't want to dwell on it. We don't have to go down this path, but it's a harsh reality. It happened, and I'm just kind of glad that we're kind of on the other side of it now, and we can be doing things like this.
I know.
But
we really liked recording over Discord. It was a lot of fun. We had a good time doing it.
That was the worst.
Tell me
how
you
so
really
shitty.
feel.
It was just dude. I just don't. I as a fan of podcasts,
yeah,
and I enjoy doing this podcast so much. Like, because there are people who are still doing Zoom interviews now, not necessarily for every episode, but that's just, one, it takes me back to that place of when that was all we could do, and two, they're just shittier.
Well,
just not enough comes across.
Sometimes you do have to do virtual interviews. You do know that, though.
Well,
oh, yeah, sure.
Like,
in my case.
The one we did
yeah,
here.
exactly.
Like for the Chase, unfortunately, some of these people, a lot of these people are in New Jersey or West Coast.
Unfortunately, they can't fly into Buffalo Airport for 3 hours to do, one show and then fly back out.
But I think that was like, making things full circle. That's another thing about Atlantic City. I had such a joy sitting down with these people. Because there is nothing like an in-person interview or just even hanging out with somebody in person. Yep. Obviously, you do what you got to do, and you get the interview, and like today, it was a great interview.
That's the thing is, luckily, like with the guy you had today, very good example. The passion kind of takes that barrier away.
Yeah.
So it's going to come through. No
and
matter
it's not
what.
that it's not that it can't be good. It's just it definitely takes more effort out of both sides.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes depending on what's going on, there might be that awkwardness of a lag, or a silent moment where you ask your questions that you have lined up, and you do riff it, but like we could switch subjects or just throw out questions that are coming first thing to our mind on a dime. Being right here.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, yes, there's very much that just unmatched with being in person.
And there's no connection issues. I have one last question for you.
Okay.
I need a 100% honest answer.
Okay.
Bills record prediction.
Oh,
regular season. Just throw out a number.
I mean, we're up to 17 games
17
now,
games.
right? I'm not joking when I say like I can't think of the whole schedule in my head like week by week right now. But I would say 14-3.
14-3. That was a number in my brain I thought you were going to say.
I'm thinking maybe one division opponent squeaks out a win. That's a very big maybe because I feel like they definitely have the potential to sweep the division.
Yeah.
Right? But I feel like, there might be a few games in there where it just...
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I agree with 14-3. It's hard to determine where... My problem is, honestly, the reason I'm at 14-3 is because you're going to lose games. But it's almost harder to figure out where those losses are going to come. Like, that's why it's like, well, maybe we drop a Division I, maybe we lose in the regular season to the Chiefs. I don't think that's – it's like, you know what I mean? It's so –
because I'm looking right – yeah, so I decided to pull it up.
Yes.
Maybe Packers
That's
with Aaron Rodgers.
That's at home, though, on Thursday Night Football, Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football?
Yeah, it is a primetime game.
Yeah.
I could tell you that
It's
much.
a night game, yes, and it's at home. So
maybe Bengals later in the year?
Yeah, the Bengals don't scare me, especially with our defensive, like the way our pass rush this year. I mean, the Bengals O-line is not good.
No. Oh, no. I mean, Joe Burrow will get used and abused.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But that's what he did last year. I mean, he got sacked, 8 times in the conference championship, or the conference championship game against the Chiefs that they won. He got sacked 8 times.
Yeah. But it's the funny thing is I just feel like it's flipped for me because I'm sitting here looking at this schedule. Titans scare me. I'll be honest. They still scare me.
Yeah, I'm just I mean, their wide receivers are worse than they were last year, and Tannehill doesn't scare me in general. I mean, obviously Derrick Henry.
But we all know that offense runs through Derrick Henry.
Yeah, but I'm more confident. I've always been, like, for the past, let's say 4 years, been very confident in like our secondary, our corners, our safety, like all of our defensive backs, really. And it has been up front that I've, especially as, like, I always loved Jerry Hughes, but especially as he started to get a little bit older and, like, it's just like, all right, come on, we need somebody that can, do something. The way that our defense is built right now and the way that they substitute on our defensive line, like, and those guys are going to stay fresh, I think we're going to we're gonna do some damage like up front from a defense perspective.
They're easily going to be a top 5 defense.
Yeah.
Easy. Like, I don't think that's even a question, honestly. But like, I even look at the like I said, I even look at the Chiefs though, and I didn't even look at them as I just skimmed right past that
I
game.
agree. I think that
maybe Baltimore.
Yeah, and who knows what's
But
going to
even
happen
then,
with Lamar Jackson?
that's what I mean.
He doesn't have his contract figured out.
Yeah.
And I know he said he's not going to talk about it once the season starts. So pretty much, I guess it's looking like next year they're going to have to figure out after the season. But
Right.
that's the same thing. Like if you're Lamar Jackson, and this was a big conversation I heard the other day. Actually, like, is it the Ravens' fault that? Is that why Lamar's doing what he's doing? Is because it's actually the Ravens' fault that they're not putting him in a more pass-heavy offense because he's such a good athlete. So that's why they're not the ones that are willing to give him more money, even though that's what he wants. But so they're going back and forth on that. Like if you're Lamar Jackson, do you almost look, and you're not signed going into this season, like more than once this year? If you're him, you're making business decisions. Like you're not going to be running like you usually do, knowing that you're trying to get paid a lot of money and maybe not buy the Ravens this summer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're not going to risk XYZ. You're going to throw the ball away probably more than you used to. And I know he's a competitor, so maybe not all the time, but I don't know. If it comes down to it and they're, maybe not as much of a contender as they'd like to be and it's late in the year, he's not going to, I don't know. That was my last question. Obviously went a lot longer. It was mostly Bills related, but then we started.
That was good.
We sounded like we knew what we were talking about there for a second, right?
I'm so excited. Like all I have thought about for the past 5 weeks, every Sunday is 4 more Sundays until I can just bury myself in this couch and eat chili and just stare at a screen for 12 straight hours. Maybe win some money, maybe lose some money, and just sit there and don't even think about anything else.
I was like, I roasted my ass off at last Saturday's game.
Yeah.
But just watching them, even that first drive,
and
watching them play, and it just looked like they were playing backyard football.
Yeah.
I was fired.
And there was a lot of people at that game.
Oh my God,
that was crazy.
I'll tell you right now, in a weird kind of subdued way, it felt like a regular season game.
Yeah, because there were so many people there.
It wasn't
as
crazy loud in that, but even just walking into the game and just sitting down, I'm multiple times I turned to my girlfriend, I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, there's a ton of people here.
Yeah.
I sounded like a broken record, but I'm like, this feels like regular season.
Oh man, I'm so excited.
So it's gonna be good. It's gonna be.
Exhale.
I feel more confident this year than I think I ever have.
Yeah. Which, I try so hard not to think like I used to. You know what I mean?
Oh, it's
confidence used to be. I just had a big time shiver, but confidence used to be my worst nightmare.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah, I didn't know. Confidence used to be my worst nightmare when it came to the Bills. If I felt good about something, I was like,
that's a bad sign.
Yeah.
Right.
But
I never trusted anything until I saw the clock hit 0-0-0 in the fourth quarter.
I still feel that way.
Yeah. But yeah, listen.
Yeah.
Times they are a changing. Andy.
Well said.
Dude, this was a fucking blast, man.
Can I come back?
Yeah, 100%. You can come back fucking next week if you want to.
I want to come back. This is fun. I can feel like this is just even though we've talked for so long, it's 2 hours and we've touched on a ton of stuff. I feel like it's just tip of the iceberg.
No, that's the problem. And Andrew gets mad at me because I
get mad. I understand it.
I do because if I didn't stop Andrew, it would be 11:30.
I'd live at this
and
table.
I'd be like, Andrew, other people have other things to do. We do have to get out of here.
Yeah.
And when I say other people a lot of times, I'm also referring to myself. Mostly myself. I'm I have to, eat.
He's busy.
Sleep.
Busy
guy.
sleep.
Yeah, dude, I'm feeling
do that when
a
you're
Wegmans
dead.
sub right now, but I don't know what time those sub shops close.
Oh, you could definitely still get a Wegmans sub right now.
You think so?
Well, maybe if we didn't go so long, Andrew. No, but
Sorry.
probably.
I say
I'm just
next
kidding.
time I come, we bring the Wegmans sub.
We come prepared.
And I'll
try
to walk you guys through what I feel when I eat that end piece of a Wegmans sub.
Okay.
Maybe we'll all do it. Maybe
Yeah.
it'll just be a group activity where we all
Yeah.
just eat it like Matt does.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I wish I could. Maybe I will go get a sub. Not a Wegmans sub though, just because there's not a Wegmans on my way home.
Yeah.
That's the problem though. Is now that's the kind of sub that's in my brain.
Yeah.
Right.
There's different
So
varieties of
But
subs.
anything else, right? Anything else
Yeah,
might
it's
be a
gonna-
disappointment.
Yeah.
You want to do some plugs real quick?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So right now, The Chase, David Adams' morning show, talk show about the cards.
Is it
hobby.
every day or is it Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
No, so that's what we do. So we're on Twitch Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We start at 9 a.m. and we stream till about 10. Usually our show's about an hour. So, yeah, we have great guests. We talk everything in the hobby. We'll do kind of a who's hot, who's not in terms of hobby value, who you should be investing in, maybe who you should stay away from, just general news within the hobby, kind of like the eBay purchase we were talking about earlier. And we usually have a guest every single show of some form that's inside the hobby, or, sometimes we'll just have our guys in the studio come in and talk like that. But, yeah, The Chase. The way you can find out about that, too, is just DA Card World across all the platforms. Twitter, DA Card World. Instagram, DA Card World. Twitch is just twitch.tv/DA Card World. So pretty much just find us there. That's where you'll find all the Chase content, clips. YouTube, you can go watch the replays on the DA Card World YouTube account. We're on Spotify and Apple as well. So if people don't want to do the video replays, or say you're driving or whatever and you can't, we're on Spotify and Apple.
All right, cool. Yeah, we'll put links to all that stuff in the
so that'll
description
be
of the episodes.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
So people can hit it
Yeah.
up.
And it's awesome. It was such a blast coming in here and talking. It
Yeah,
really was.
dude,
It was
I
fun.
know. I feel like we did 10, 15 years worth of catching up in one episode. So that's why I would love to come back on, and I don't know if you guys are music guys, but I'd love to have you on the music podcast eventually too, if you guys would want to come and shoot the shit about that.
Yeah, that'd be a blast.
Okay.
'Cause I want to see your setups. I want to see both setups.
Yeah. It's nice.
I want to check it out.
He's got some.
Well, I was gawking when I came in here. I'm like, oh my god, this is great. Even in such a space that you have, it's just like I said, it's very nicely set up. I think it's a good look.
Thanks,
Good
man.
stuff.
Fun.
Looks pro.
Thank you so
yeah.
much again for coming on.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks, man.
it was a
Appreciate
blast.
Cool.
Andy, I love you.
I love you too. Let's get out of here. Thanks, folks.